We welcome you to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, the home of the defending world champion Kansas City Royals. Tonight, the Braves kick off a 3-game weekend series and a long 3-city, 10-game road trip here in the Big K. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe, welcome to the ballpark. Partner, welcome back to Kansas City, your old hunting grounds.
Great to be here. Great ballpark as always. It's a wonderful place to be.
But times are tough right now for the defending world champions. What in the world's happened to the Royals? They're under 500 so far in the American League.
Yeah, they've gotten off to a real slow start. The natives are getting restless around here. They think the sky's falling because the Kansas City Royals are on a little bit of a bad turn. They've lost 12 of their last 16 ball games, and they've lost 5 straight series. So they're struggling a little bit, and they're really having a hard time getting everybody on the field because of a lot of injuries.
And all of a sudden, they're staring in the face of Julio Teheran, who arguably is the hottest pitcher in the National League with very little to show for it.
Well, if the Braves are going to sweep the Kansas City Royals, the defending world champions, they got to win tonight. And who better to have out there than Julio? He has pitched outstanding baseball. You're seeing some evidence of that with his work against Boston, against Chicago, and his last outing against Arizona wasn't as good as those other two, but he's still been brilliant his last 3, a sub-1 ERA, a sub-200 average. He's a great guy to get this road trip started.
3 excellent games in a row for Julio Teheran, 3 awful games in a row for Edinson Volquez, who pitches for the Royals.
Yeah, they've been backwards. These two guys have been backwards. Volquez got off to a great start, went 3-0. Now he's 0-3 his last 3 times out, and he's given up a ton of long balls. And in his last start, you're seeing that here against Cleveland. He didn't get out of the 5th inning, so the Braves may be catching him at the right time, despite the fact that Edinson Volquez has pitched really well against the Braves in recent years. He's won 3 of the last 4 starts he's made against them over about a 4-year period.
Kansas City has lost 5 consecutive series. The Braves would love to win series number 1 on this long road trip, and my partner earlier
Sweep.
predicted a sweep. I love the way he thinks. Great baseball town in Kansas City. Paul Byrd made a visit to the Negro Leagues Museum. It is a must-see and a must-see feature coming up after a quick break.
Atlanta Braves baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. Baseball is sponsored by Delta Airlines. your local Ford dealer. And Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience sports.
Well, welcome back, Braves fans. Paul Bird here hanging out in Kansas City. This place is incredible. Yeah, the stadium team's great over there, but I got to tell you this. Downtown Kansas City has the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which is an absolutely amazing place. Able to visit there earlier, learn some stories. Absolutely took my breath away. Here's Vice President Raymond Doswell.
Well, welcome to Kansas City, and what you're seeing is the Field of Legends. It is a mock baseball diamond that has statues of some of the key players from African-American baseball history, many of them inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So when you walk in, you can see it, you're separated from it, but you have to earn the right to walk around and learn the history before you can walk out onto the field.
Really cool area. You're separated there from some chicken wire standing back. My favorite hallway, I got to tell you this, man. Mobile, Alabama, Hank Aaron, 16 years old, a picture of him and a scout that says, stick with this kid. He's got a chance to be pretty good someday. Yeah, he turned out all right. Great stuff. More Braves, Royals coming back after the break.
Atlanta Braves Baseball is sponsored by your local Toyota dealers, Let's Go Places, the Georgia Lottery, and Synovus, the bank of here.
It's a cool, breezy night for baseball here in Kansas City. We had all kinds of rain issues around 4 o'clock this afternoon, but we look to get things started on time as Ned Yost and the Royals host the Braves in Game 1 of a 3-game series. Kansas City celebrated their World Championship in 5 games over the New York Mets. There was the final out, the second championship for this Kansas City ball club. Of course, opening day, they had the trophy, they had the ring ceremony, Joe, and these folks were elated after having their hearts broken by the Giants 2 years ago in the Fall Classic.
I think the entire city turned out there by the train station to help celebrate. Of course, this is part of the ring ceremony. Always a big day on the field for a team when they win a world championship. And constructing a championship, well, Dayton Moore came from the Atlanta Braves to become the GM here, and they had 9 consecutive losing seasons, finished last a bunch of times, but then those losing seasons helped them draft some pretty good players.
They drafted well, they signed well out of the international ranks. They made some big trades to bolster their farm system. And really, Joe, if you're looking at a roadmap for what the Atlanta Braves are trying to accomplish, what Dayton Moore and the Royals have done might be a perfect blueprint to follow.
Yeah, blueprint's a great word. I think you could just stamp move the stamp over and say this is what the Braves hope that happens. I hope it happens a little faster than what it took for the Kansas City Royals, but got to the World Series 2 years ago and then won it last year. So it's been quite remarkable for a great baseball town to enjoy and revel in what happened over the last couple of years, knowing that they've been waiting so long.
Well, we've been waiting a while to get this one started. We've got one more break, then we'll have Julio Teheran and Edinson Volquez for a big crowd at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Lineups and first pitch coming up in a moment. City during baseball season, this might be the time to do it. It is breezy, 63 degrees, and the wind has been swirling around the ballpark all afternoon long.
21 miles an hour. It might blow the guys off the mound that are trying to throw strikes. And for the Royals, it's Edinson Volquez, the veteran who has been in the National League, now in the American League, signed with the Royals as a free agent last year. Good at home, not so good on the road, so he's happy to be back at Kauffman Stadium and try to snap this bad spell he's been on, where he's 0-3 over his last 3 starts with a 7.94 ERA.
We know of the Braves' troubles at home. Perhaps a long road trip is just what Freddie Gonzalez's club needs. Here's how he lines him up for Game 1. Nick Markakis is the designated hitter for Atlanta tonight. Inciarte and Freeman will follow. Flowers, Johnson, and Francoeur, a former Royal. Gordon Beckham's been swinging a hot bat with Malik Smith 8th, Eric Ibar 9th. Ibar has swung the bat well in this ballpark. Hopefully that will get him going in Game 1 for the Braves as well. So we are ready to go. Nick Markakis leads things off with a .275 average. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Greg Gibson will call balls and strikes tonight. And the count now even at 1-1.
Low 90s typically for Volquez with a good changeup. Really good when he's on.
62 degrees officially. And first pitch. And that's way outside, ball 2. First inning has been indicative of the way things will go for Kansas City this year. They're 8-2 when they lead after the first inning. They're 2-11 when they trail after the first. So a couple of early runs would be nice. And that one's popped into shallow left. Alex Gordon, the Gold Glover, is there. He's got it. And there's out number 1.
Speaking of Gold Glovers, they got a ton of them.
Yeah.
Not last year for Gordon. He missed a lot of time with injury. But they've got several guys. Escobar at shortstop, Hosmer at first, Perez behind the plate, all won Gold Gloves. Moustakas is on the disabled list. That's giving a chance for one of their top prospects, Chesler Cuthbert, to play third base. Paulo Orlando in right field had a couple of big hits against the Braves, as we recall last time we were here.
Which was in 2011, if memory serves. Here's Ender Inciarte. Inciarte in left. And he's backed off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Popped up. Let's see what the wind does with this. Escobar behind the second base bag has to move to his left to make the play. And there's the second out. Look at Inciarte. He never stopped running.
You got to, and I'm sure they talked about it in the Braves dugout, that it's going to be a little bit of an adventure tonight on anything hit in the air like this. Omar Infante was there just in case. Escobar stayed with it.
2 up, 2 down for first baseman Freddie Freeman. He is red hot. And he swings the first pitch. This one's popped up toward third. Cuthbert foul ground. He makes the play. And 7 pitches for Volquez. Gets him out of the first in 1-2-3 fashion. Julio Teheran goes to work next. Those fountains, you know you're in Kansas City. That is one of the great architectural features of Kauffman Stadium. Braves down in order in the top of the first. Now Julio Teheran takes the ball against Kansas City tonight.
How about this? First batter of an inning. The retired percentage. Clayton Kershaw at the top, but not that far behind. Julio Teheran, 83.3% of the time he gets that first batter of an inning, and that helps stem the tide on a big inning. Julio comes into the game looking for his first win of the year, and his keys to pitching success tonight, number one, good counts. This team does not walk much, the Kansas City Royals. They swing the bat, so if you can get ahead in the count, he's been good at putting hitters away and bust a move. You know he's got a good move to first. This Royals team, when they do get on, they like to run. He's going to have to hold runners close.
And their offense starts with Alcides Escobar, the shortstop, who's been slumping. 6 hits in his last 30 tries for Ned Yost. And Julio's first pitch of the game is up and in. 1 ball, no strikes. That's headed for the facade of the second deck. And it's an even count. Escobar, 248, no homers, 9 RBIs. He's pushed off the plate again, 2-1.
The weather was so great for the week the team was home in Atlanta. To come here, it's a shock to your system. It's like early April feeling.
When we got on the bus and it was raining, I was thinking, are we going to have another 3-city trip where we don't see the sun again? Because it was gorgeous here in Kansas City until about 3 o'clock today.
We're 0 for about our last 8 on sun and on the road.
2 balls, 2 strikes for Escobar, and he pokes that toward right field. Francoeur on the run, can't get there. The ball gets by him. Malik Smith backs it up. Escobar around second, on his way to third. The throw there will be late. My guess is routine single and a 2-base error.
That would be my guess too. Jeff playing right field tonight, and that ball squirted by him. He acted like he was going to try and catch it, realized he couldn't, and then got caught on an in-between bounce, and that's a bad break for Julio right out of the gate.
Second Francoeur error, 28th error on the Braves this year. And you're right, Tehran now has to really work hard to keep this thing scoreless in the first. Lorenzo Cain is the batter. And after a miserable start to the year, Cain is roasting hot. He had a great road trip for the Royals. And he launches that one out of play for a strike. Cain has 5 homers, 17 RBIs. 3 of those homers and 7 of those runs batted in have come in the last week.
In one game.
Yeah, he had a 3-homer
game against the Yankees. As you see already, this team swings the bat. They are good hitters, as Escobar just showed you, going the other way. They try to use the whole field. That's what enabled them to beat the New York Mets, and their great pitching staff was just trying to hit the ball the other way and take what the pitcher gives you.
To short. That's going to score a run. As Cain put it in play with 2 strikes, Escobar scores to make it 1-0 Royals. Here's Eric Hosmer. He's been swinging a hot bat since the opening bell. He hits third in front of Kendrys Morales, Alex Gordon, Salvi Perez, the catcher, Cuthbert Infante, the former Brave, and Paulo Orlando hits ninth. Hosmer has 6 homers and 16 knocked in.
Similarities between he and Freddie Freeman are pretty startling. Size-wise, production-wise, importance to their team. Batting third. Both very good fielders.
Hosmer's hit safely in 28 of the last 30 for the Royals and had an 18-game hitting streak in that stretch. That's tied for longest in the big leagues this year. Jackie Bradley Jr. of the Red Sox also had an 18-game run. 3 balls, no strikes. And that's ball 4. Hosmer coaxes a 1-out walk.
You know, this is one of those nights that you worry about with Julio with respect to a lot of wind and not a whole lot of humidity. I know it had rain and it's cloudy and all that, but with this kind of wind, it's hard to get a good feel for the baseball. It gets a little slick. That's always caused him problems.
Now the DH, Kendrys Morales. Morales has not had much luck at the plate. Just 4 hits in his last 26 at bats. Braves have a shift on for him. And that grazes the outside corner. During this stretch, Morales had an 0 for 14 run. Hit a home run at Yankee Stadium to break out of that. Pop fly, foul over the Braves dugout on the third base side. And with the wind blowing from left to right, can't give up on those pop-ups, can you?
No, and with the shift, Gordon Beckham knew that too. He took off like a bolt trying to get over there in case it blew back. Gordon's been playing great since he came back from the DL and had that big hit last night.
That had some snap to it. It moves Morales off the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, when this good stretch started for Julio, one of the things that really was obvious was his slider. His slider was back, especially to lefties, throwing it to the back foot, getting a lot of swings and misses.
High fly ball to right. And Jeff Francoeur will make the play for the second out. So Hosmer at first, 2 outs. Here's a look at the Braves defensive lineup. Enciarte, Smith, and Francoeur left to right. Beckham and Freeman on the corners. Ibar and Kelly Johnson up the middle with Tyler Flowers behind the plate. Here's Alex Gordon. If there's a Royal that has caught the strikeout virus, this is the guy. He has struck out 41 times already this year.
That's the 7th highest in the league, the American League. He was a late sign by Kansas City. He had become a free agent. Didn't sign him till after the first of the year, and they spent some money on him and Ian Kennedy, starting pitcher.
And where would they be without Kennedy, who's pitched well despite losing in New York in their road trip finale yesterday? As you mentioned, Kansas City is banged up. Moustakas is out for a couple of weeks. Chris Medlin, a sore shoulder, and Chris Young, forearm problem. So 2/5 of their starting rotation disabled for the defending world champs. And that has shuffled things up dramatically for them in this series. We'll talk about that as the evening goes along. And time called. Looks like a piece of plastic wrapper is floating around center field, and that was right in the middle of the batter's eye.
Get him, Alex.
I don't know if he can catch it. There we go.
Here's a list of their key players on the disabled list. Mike Minor signed in the wintertime to a 2-year deal. They're hoping that they get the same results from Mike Minor that they got from Chris Medlin, whom they had to wait on to get healthy after his second Tommy John surgery. Minor's deal is a shoulder.
And Mike was touching 94, 95 miles an hour with his fastball in a rehab start for the Royals AA club a couple of days ago.
Yeah, went a couple of innings, gave up a couple of runs, but they said he was throwing free and easy.
1 ball, 2 strikes for Alex Gordon. And he's able to foul that pitch straight back. It's still 1-2. Hosmer with a very short lead at first. And that one's popped up. Ibar is out. And he and Inciarte nearly collide. Who came up with it? Looks like it was Inciarte, the Braves left fielder, who made the catch. And that will retire the side. A 2-base error and a ground out plates the first Kansas City run. They've scored first. We'll see if it holds up. It's 1-0 after 1. It's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean, Crisp Coors Light.
That's not too pretty. 16 interleague games, 2-14 record, outscored 105-40. I think that's apropos. Coors Light would be very good while you're reading that.
Might need more than one. And we know we'll need more than one run to win this one tonight. The Royals take advantage of a 2-base error to plate the game's first run for Edinson Volquez, who needed just 7 pitches to work his way through the first inning. Flowers, Kelly Johnson, and Jeff Francoeur coming up for the Braves. And that one's hit towards second. And an easy play for Infante. He makes it 1 out.
I was a little surprised to see Tyler in the cleanup spot tonight until I saw his numbers against Volquez, 5 for 10. Then it made sense.
Kelly Johnson bats. He's hitting 5th tonight. 5 RBIs for Kelly. 4 hits in his last 11 at bats. And he unloads on the first pitch. That's hit deep toward right. That ball is going to be gone. No, it's not gone. It bounced off the top of the fence and ricocheted back onto the field of play. Kelly Johnson stands at second. The Braves might want to see if this is a boundary call for Kelly Johnson.
There's signage, then there's a space of the fence, and then there's a railing. And that hit right at the top of the fence against the railing. Second base umpire is Mike Estabrook, who made the call. And I don't know if it has to clear that railing or not, but it looked like it hit it. That close to being a home run to tie the game for Kelly.
He roped that baby. His 5th double. Fooled me. Thought it was out. So my apologies. It is a double, however, with one out. And Jeff Francoeur with a hit could tie the game for the Braves. After Jeff left Atlanta, went to the New York Mets, it was here in Kansas City where some of the old magic returned for Francoeur. He had a very, very good year with the Royals in 2011. That's down the right field line near that pole, but foul and out of play. Jeff hit .285 here in 2011. Hit 20 homers, drove in 87 runs, stole 22 bases for Kansas City. A 20-20 man for them. And the production declined over the next year and a half, where he went to the Giants, the Padres, and then, of course, another resurgent year with the Phillies. That's hit toward third. Cuthbert with the throw to first. Nice play by Hosmer. No advance to the base runner, 2 outs. As Joe said, Gold Glovers all around this infield for the Royals. As a team, they've committed just 14 errors, so they do not beat themselves with bad plays with the glove.
Yeah, and the 14 errors is tied for the fewest in the American League.
6 of them by the shortstop Escobar. So, other than he, they are a very stingy defensive bunch. Here's Gordon Beckham. He takes ball 1 low. Beckham had the bases clearing double last night. 3 of his 6 RBIs. And his average now over 300. Volquez once and will get a new baseball. 2 balls, no strikes. That's off Salvi Perez. He says he's all right. 2 balls and a strike now.
Greg Gibson's a nice sized guy. I mean, he's a pretty solid home plate umpire back there, but having to try to catch a 250-pound catcher that's falling back in your lap, I don't know if I want that. Volquez's last start against the Indians, 4 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks. So command has been a problem too over this bad 3-game stretch. A .342 average against him.
Alex Smith would love a crack at Volquez here in the second. Rules state you do have to throw the baseball.
It's in there. It's in the book.
Now we're ready to go. Pitch. High hopper off the plate. Tough play at third. Cuthbert bare hand. Hosmer dug it out. What an incredible play. The Braves are going to check this one on video review. What a remarkable play with the bare hand and the short hop scoop by Hosmer to retire the side at first glance. Wow.
is sponsored by Georgia Power and Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience sports.
Kansas City gets a first inning run. And now we head to the home second. Salvador Perez, the gigantic Royals catcher, will lead off for Ned Yost. Perez at .226 on the year, 5 homers and 18 driven in. And Julio starts him with a strike. Perez, another Royal that comes back home, riding a cold offensive streak. He's 5 for his last 28. And this one's hit a mile high to center. Malik Smith camps out and makes the play for the first out.
I want to go back to that ball that Escobar hit in the first inning. And I want you to watch what Malik Smith does. Now, he was shading Escobar over to right field. You can see him in center field, swung way over. But he wasn't a spectator. He came over, back up the play, and it's a good thing he did. Hustling over there just in case the ball got by him. It did, and he was there to retrieve it. Otherwise, that might have been an inside the park 3-base error.
Alex has been very impressive defensively, and his offense is coming to life too. Is Chesler Cuthbert. That's for the first time against the Braves tonight. A native of Nicaragua. And he's got a 6-game hitting streak.
Chesler Cuthbert sounds like he ought to live in the Hamptons.
Yes. 4 under par as he hits to the second. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Not too many Nicaragua natives have played in the major leagues. Dennis Martinez certainly one of them. A non-drafted free agent signed in '09, and he's got another hit. And he can motor. Look at him move around first. He's on his way to second. And Cuthbert has a 1-out double. That's his second 2-base hit.
There was talk before Moustakas got hurt and had to go on the disabled list that Cuthbert might get called up from Omaha to play second base because Omar Infante had not been swinging the bat very well. So it was a convenient opportunity to bring him up anyway and play him at third base, and all he's done since he came up is hit.
So here's an RBI chance for former Brave Omar Infante. And he takes a strike. Omar played with the Braves 2008, 2009, and 2010. And didn't get that. No balls, 2 strikes.
And he's done well here. He's fit and filled a need that they had at second base for the last 2 or 3 years.
You might recall Infante was an all-star with the Braves in 2010. And that's popped out of play. That was always one of the nice things about seeing Omar. You'd walk up and say, all-star. That ear-to-ear grin. Hit .321 with the Braves that year. 8 homers, 47 knocked in. Breaking ball, he hung it, but Infante pops it up. Beckham in on the grass, sizes that up, and Julio Teheran. Smart play, covered third base on the pop up. 2 outs for Paulo Orlando. I misspoke earlier when I talked about the last time the Braves were here. It wasn't 2011, it was 2013. And we remember seeing Orlando do some damage to the Braves in that series here in Kansas City. Orlando was originally a White Sox performer. The Royals got him for Horacio Ramirez in 2008. And that buzzed the tower inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, the guy they thought would be their right fielder is hurt, Jared Dyson.
Yeah, these are not the same Kansas City Royals from a year ago. A lot of key players are hurt. A lot of key players are playing elsewhere after their World Championship year. As that one up and in, Orlando got popped, and he takes a look at Teheran as he heads to first base. Two inside pitches back to back, and the second one sends Orlando to first with 2 outs.
I mean, right in the middle of the back, too.
Ben Zobrist isn't here. Greg Holland, Johnny Cueto, Ryan Madsen, Alex Rios, Guthrie. All key performers for the Royals World Championship year last year, either hurt or playing elsewhere. And this year, Kansas City has started 16 and 18. Inning alive for Escobar, and a strike.
That grip on the baseball looked kind of funny. It's got kind of a wide, almost like a split finger grip. And that came out of his hand awfully, well, obviously funny, that far off the mark.
That caught a corner inside, 0-2. To the right side, a base hit. Here comes Cuthbert around third. Francoeur loads up. His throw will not be in time. So Escobar, a 2-hit game. He brings home Cuthbert, and the Royals have scored a second run.
And another good piece of hitting by Escobar. He got a pitch up. It was supposed to be down and away if you're watching Tyler Flowers' target there. Jeff Francoeur came up throwing, boy, but he threw it straight down. It was about a 10-hopper to home plate. Very much unlike Jeff.
So the 2-out hit batsman allows Escobar to hit, and he delivers a run-scoring single. Orlando all the way around to third base, and now you face red-hot Lorenzo Cain. We talked about how the Royals have drafted very wisely with all the misery of those losing seasons. They've also made some terrific trades, and Lorenzo Cain may be exhibit A of that. Acquired by the Royals with Alcides Escobar, Jeremy Jeffress, and Jake Odorizzi for Zach Greinke, Yuniesky Betancourt, and cash. Cain last year had 307. Scored 101 runs and drove in 72.
They got 2 key components of their World Championship team in that one trade, and Jake Odorizzi, who they parlayed into another deal.
Well, the Braves talk about the Jason Hayward trade and the effect of that. Well, very similar circumstances with what Kansas City did with Zach Greinke and the deal that brought Cain to the Royals. 2 balls, no strikes. Hosmer waits next.
I don't think Julio's able to hang on to the baseball at all. I think he's really struggling again on grip.
That caught the inside corner, 3-1. Runner at first is moving, and that ball's whacked foul to the left side. It's now 3-2. Escobar back to first.
Lorenzo Cain still lives in Atlanta and works out a lot during the offseason with some of the Braves players. I want to say Kelly Johnson and some of the guys that live out on the northeast side of town work out with Lorenzo.
Swing and a miss, and Teheran is out of further trouble. The Royals pick up a run. 2 hits. A key hit batsman played a role in a Royals 2-run advantage.
I'm a little chilly down here. Forgot to bring my jacket coming from Atlanta. 2-0 Royals here in the top of the third. But I got to say this, a lot of going back and forth, a lot of trades with these Atlanta connections. You see Dayton Moore, Infante, Yost, Moylan Minor, a lot of them. But I got to focus on Ned Yost. Had a great conversation with him before the game where he said he learned everything about coaching from sitting on the bench with Bobby Cox.
Well, that's certainly understandable. Ned spent a lot of time with Bobby on the Braves bench. His first managerial job was in 03 with Milwaukee. Managed the Brewers from 2003 to 2008. Took a year off in 09 and then came to Kansas City. And as we showed you, the continuation of this remodeling, rebuilding program for the Royals, Ned was in the thick of that. But every year they got better and better. His first year as the manager here, they finished in 5th place before making the playoffs, Paul, in 14, and then of course winning the whole thing last year in 2015.
No, you're right on, Chip. And you know what was really neat? He was talking to the Braves fans and just asked them to have patience. He had said, as you said earlier, been through it, different places. It really paid off for the Royals. The highlight of that coming last year when he said everybody was celebrating with champagne. He was never going to get in on the celebrations unless they won the World Series. And when they did, he walked into the back office, threw all the champagne, and sat down on the couch next to Dayton Moore. And they looked at each other, and after all they had been through, they just simply said, "We did it." Really cool moment for Ned Yost, and such great people, easy to pull for.
Oddly enough, he was hired 6 years ago today. He had been in the front office.
Escobar at short. Alex flies down the line but is out by a step.
for the Royals after he was taken, we'll say, out of retirement after he was unceremoniously let go in Milwaukee. And when the Royals made a change in midseason, I'm not sure that when Ned took over the job, Paul, that it was one of those things where he expected to be here this long. I think he wanted to manage the team for a couple of years and then maybe move into the front office permanently. But here he is in his 7th year, and those 12 years in Atlanta as a coach, I'm sure he did learn a lot under Bobby.
Absolutely. It was really neat what he said specifically about Bobby. Wasn't always the great coaching moves. He said Bobby Cox was great at dealing with people. When he walked into the stadium, he knew everybody by name. He addressed them, he shook their hands, and he treated his players the same way. He knew how to deal with each individual player and get the best out of them.
Well, this has been such a great baseball franchise. It's a great baseball town, very passionate, very knowledgeable fans. Ned Yost has become the all-time winningest manager in the history of the Royals franchise.
How about that?
And when you're talking about Whitey Herzog, Jim Fry, Dick Hauser, Jack McKeon, Bob Boone, other baseball luminaries who've managed here, that's not only a story of persistence, but a story of success. As Eric Ibar skies one to center, that'll be caught by Kane, who's able to make the play. There's the second out. So again, the old saying, I'm not prone to quoting Clint Hurdle, but it is worth repeating a saying that he had when he talked about managing in Colorado with the Rockies. It takes courage to have patience, to have your plan, to see your plan through, and if you run out of time, you run out of time.
Yes.
They clearly have not run out of time here.
No, and I give credit to their ownership group. And I had the opportunity today to meet and speak with David Glass, the owner of the team, and I commended him for having the patience when things for Dayton Moore's plan weren't exactly bearing fruit for so long. It would have been easy to say, okay, this isn't working, let's try somebody new. But they stuck with Dayton, and then they were able to enjoy that championship last year. When I said that to him, he said, well, one of the things that we said to Dayton all along was, we're in this together. And I thought that was a great comment with respect to this plan they had.
1 ball, 1 strike.
And he said, I had so much fun doing it last year, I want to do it again.
Well, you can certainly understand that. But I wonder if they were starting this plan, if they knew they had 6 or 7 years of futility before they got the payoff, if that would work in today's game. As this one's bounced up the middle by Markakis. We live in an instant gratification society where the future's measured in minutes, not years. But it certainly worked for Kansas City. Volquez rolling, he's up 2-0.
for the Braves. And just before we left, Chip Carey would say instant gratification is a part of society now. Yeah, I agree. Talking to Dayton Moore earlier today, he said, you know what, Paul, and I congratulate him on rebuilding the team. And he said, Paul, we didn't rebuild, we built. There was nothing to rebuild from. They hadn't made the playoffs since 1985, and when I got here, the natives were restless, wanted to win right away, and it just simply took some time.
Base hit the other way by Hosmer on the first pitch. So he's aboard for a second time. He walked in the opening inning.
Well, think about it, Paul. With respect to having to build something, after about the 5th, 6th, or 7th year, you're starting to wonder if your plan was the right one. Now, they had all of these young players that worked their way to the big leagues, some slower than others. Took Moustakas a little bit longer than some of the other guys. But they stuck with the plan, and that's something that the Braves keep saying, that we have a plan in place and we're going to stick to it.
That's right. And another thing, I think, at Turner Field, you see all those banners on the left field wall above the 755 club, and playing for the Braves twice in that era, we all got a little spoiled. And rebuilding seems to be a dirty word at times, like, you know, we're the Braves, we don't do that. And this is just a normal process of most teams. And I thought it was really great what you guys talked about when you said exercising patience is crucial.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's hard to do, especially when you're 8-25 and you think, okay, enough of this. Well, no, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is part of that process. You don't like it being 8-25. You'd like to have a more respectable record.
How about that hook? 1 ball, 2 strikes. But I agree. I think the worst thing you could do. That one's ripped into the seats. Look out, fans. The worst thing you can do is spend all the man hours implementing your plan. You create your organizational philosophy. You draft accordingly. You trade accordingly. You budget accordingly. And then all of a sudden, 2-3 years into that plan, you go, oh, this isn't working. And you go 180 degrees the other way. Then you've wasted all that time and you've got to essentially start over.
Right. Or you make the mistake of bringing in somebody else.
Right.
And you start a new plan that might take equally as long and not get you anywhere.
That's what I always thought the major difference between the Cubs and the Braves was. I mean, the time I was in Chicago, they had 3, 4, 5 different managers. The Braves had 1 GM, 1 manager. There was continuity, which obviously was helped by the players they had in place and the system they had in place. And now you're seeing that with the Mets. You're seeing that with the Astros, although they're having a down year this year. The Cardinals certainly have had a system in place that's borne a lot of fruit. And that's what the Braves are trying to get to as well.
Well, with respect to the Astros, think about how long it took the Royals to get where they were last year. It wasn't overnight, and Houston's hasn't been overnight either, but it's been a lot quicker than what the Royals went through.
Bouncing ball. That ought to be 2, and it is. That is a 5-6-3 double play that clears the bases. And this is what we're talking about. There are going to be some huge bumps in the road. And look at what the Royals went through from 2009 until 2013, when all of a sudden their fans started to think, hey, we're headed the right way.
Yeah, and to their credit, they never lost 100 games. That surprises me. I thought they did, because there were some really miserable years in there. Certainly 2009 was a rough go. But some gradual improvement year by year as some of their young players got some experience and got some confidence. This guy's one of them.
Alex Gordon will fly out to left his first time up. And if memory serves, Gordon was a failed infielder. He wasn't a good defender.
Right.
And they knew he could hit, so they said, all right, let's put you in the outfield. Boy, has that worked out. All he's done is won 4 Gold Gloves in left field for Kansas City. That's bounced by the Royals dugout. 2 balls and a strike.
And I think when we were looking at that graphic we had earlier that Gretchen and Eric Kendall put together for us, showing how to construct a champion, Hosmer, Gordon, I believe, were both second or third picks in the draft. They weren't the first pick. So they struck it rich, even though they didn't have the number 1.
And that's the other part that you have to, I think, factor in. If you trust the people that are drafting and developing and scouting your players, you have to believe they're going to make the right selection. This year the Braves have the 3rd overall pick, and that's exciting to think about what that could mean down the road. Nice recovery for Julio Teheran. We're through 3. Royals lead by We are through 3 innings tonight. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. That includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Kansas City 2, Atlanta nothing, as Ender Inciarte gets set to lead off our 4th inning. And that's taken outside. Ball 1. Inciarte popped up to the shortstop Escobar, his first time up. Royals uniforms have a little different look, don't they? Used to be that royal blue script across the uniform top, but with the World Championship under their belt, these are their Friday night jerseys that they wear for special occasions. In fact, they wore these uniforms the first 2 games of the season when they faced the Mets, the team they vanquished in the World Series last year.
Yeah, that was some unfortunate timing for the Metropolitans.
And an opposite field shot to third. Nice pick. Perfect throw by Cuthbert. Inciarte's retired. Volquez setting him up and knocking him down.
Yeah, over this 3-game stretch where he has had a rough time and gone 0-3, there was actually a pretty good game sandwiched in between 2 real stinkers. On May 2nd against Washington here, he pitched into the 8th inning and only gave up 2 runs and walked 1, struck out 7. So to say that all 3 of those starts were poor would not be correct. 2 of the 3 have been, but he lost all 3 of them.
Well, they need him to pick up the pace at home and on the road. I think it's safe to say now that Medlin's on the DL for them. Well, we hope Chris is not seriously hurt after the 2 Tommy John surgeries. It's a shoulder problem that sidelined him now. We're excited to maybe see Chris pitch here on Sunday.
I know he was too.
That won't happen. 1 ball, 1 strike for Freeman. Get it. 1-2 your count. So we'll see our old nemesis Dylan G here tomorrow night. Mike Foltynewicz will pitch for the Braves. The pitch to Freeman is hit high in the air to left. Long run Gordon. Kane is on the run, and that ball's dropped. Gordon couldn't hang on, and Freddie Freeman stands at second with 1 man out. Let's see what happened to Gordon on that play near the track.
You would expect this ball to be slicing back to him, but because of the wind, it was actually blowing away from him and hit right off the heel of his glove. That'll be an E7.
So let's see if Atlanta can take advantage. Here's Tyler Flowers. He grounded out to second in his lone at bat tonight. And there's a strike. You know, Flowers has faced the Royals a lot, former White Sox. 1 ball, no strikes. Here's your count to the Braves catcher.
Just 3 of 13 on first pitch strikes for Volquez too.
Tyler has 3 career homers in this ballpark. This is his 25th career game.
Yeah, I was thinking about he and Gordon Beckham and how many games they've played in this park. They should be relatively comfortable.
The name that surprised me was Eric Ibar. Ibar, a lifetime .380 hitter in Kansas City. Like to see some of that this weekend. Pitch to Flowers, and the knees a strike. It's 2-2.
Well, it's not deep down the lines, but it drops back quickly, and it's from gap to gap. A big yard, 387 to left center and right center, and 410 to straightaway center. A lot of space out there in the gaps.
Pop fly foul out of play.
And when they had the tartan turf here, this field was slanted a little bit to the outfield for drainage purposes, and the way the lights would sometimes shine off and reflect off the tartan turf, if somebody hit a ground ball, hard ground ball that got through, it was hard to find it.
You'd lose it in the lights in the grass.
You lose it in the lights in the grass.
Wow.
That's right. In the sheen off the tartan turf. Couldn't take your eyes off of it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. This one's bounced slowly to the right side of the mound. Volquez with a valiant effort can't get his man, and Flowers has an infield hit. And the Braves have runners at the corners. First and third. Couldn't have rolled it out there any better.
No, a little something cooking here. Good pitch. Didn't wind up with a good result. Slow reaction by Volquez too, getting off the mound.
And now Salvador Perez wants to talk it over as Kelly Johnson's up. He almost hit a home run his last time up. Hit it right off the top of the green padding in right field. Ball ricocheted back into right center field. And Ned Yost may be talking about that Flowers play. Maybe ball hit Tyler Flowers in the batter's box.
That may be why he may have sent Perez out to the mound to stall for some time while they check it on the replay. In their office, did it hit him in the foot? Hard to tell the way his foot pivoted on his heel. Did have some funny spin, but no replay.
So the drop in left and now an infield hit has the Braves in business, down 2-0. And they start Kelly with a breaking ball, and he took a strike. Good numbers for Kelly against the Royals right-hander. And 5 hits in his last 12 at-bats. That's headed for the seats foul. Fan from Olathe, Kansas makes the grab. That ball backed up.
Big time.
Whew. Salvador Perez was really crowding Kelly Johnson inside. And that thing took a big right turn.
I'll say it did. And if you're the hitter, you freeze thinking it's going to stay inside. It didn't. First strikeout for him. Big one.
And that'll bring up Jeff Francoeur with first and third. Now 2 outs. Didn't get a fastball. Strike 1. Volquez reaching back for a little extra here in the Atlanta 4th inning.
Jeff had a big hit, a couple of big hits on the homestand to drive in runs. Could use one right here. 2 out.
And Perez wants to talk it over again. No balls and a strike. Broken bat pop. Infante drifts out. He's going to get there. And that'll retire the side. The Braves can't cash in a 2-base error and an infield hit. Volquez keeps his shutout bid alive. He's up 2-0 in the 4th. Tonight's Toyota Tweet of the Week. What's your favorite ballpark feature in the majors and why? Tweet us at Fox Sports South using hashtag ballpark feature, and your answer could be read during our Braves Live post-game show. Joe, I know this place for you and probably for Paul Bird too has a special place in your baseball heart.
It's just a fabulous place to play. Great fans, It's an outstanding stadium. It was built for the beginning of the 1973 season, and like Dodger Stadium, it has really withstood the time, you know, of new stadiums. And I know they made a huge renovation here a few years ago, about $250 million or so, to really bring it up to date. But it was a fabulous place to play, even for the brief time that I was here.
Salvador Perez leads off. And maybe it was an unpolished diamond, if you'll pardon the expression, until they took the turf out and put in natural grass. It seems to me that made all the difference in the world here.
And why wouldn't they, with George Toma as the groundskeeper, who I think is going into the Missouri Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, good for him.
Didn't Ed Mangan work under George Toma here?
I think he was George was a mentor for Ed, you bet.
Well, this is a fabulous sports facility. It makes perfect sense in the way that it was designed, in that you've got Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Chiefs, in the parking lot right behind the first base side of things, I guess, right behind the plate. Easy access to the highways in downtown Kansas City. Great place. Ibar, nice play. Outfield grass, knows who's running and throws a strike. Pretty play. And Perez retired, one down.
It's a lot different than when I played here. Naturally, they've done a lot, as you watch Ibar's good play. They've done a lot with the outfield in terms of adding seating and a center field plaza. Brought some fans real close to the action in the outfield that weren't there before, and still maintain the beauty of those fountains.
Well, for a stadium that was built, as you said, in '73, it really was ahead of its time in a lot of different ways. You think of the cookie cutter stadiums that were in Atlanta and Philly and Pittsburgh and St. Louis. This was polar opposite of that.
Right. It's all for baseball. It wasn't a multi-purpose stadium.
Pop back our way, foul. 2 quick strikes for Chesler Cuthbert. There's a double, a run scored, and he's made a real good play at third base tonight.
They built the Royals Hall of Fame right up behind left field, which is also a wonderful building, and 3 retired numbers out there for 3 guys I had the privilege of playing with, and 4. Frank White, Dick Hauser, and George Brett, of course.
No balls, 2 strikes. What was it like playing for Dick Hauser?
Terrific. I think he was a lot like, I never played for Bobby Cox, but they were very similar in their ways. Of course, they both grew up in the Yankee organization, knew each other well.
That's a cue shot that's going to stay fair. There's a break for Julio, and he'll take that. 2 men out in the Royals' 4th inning. And Omar Infante bats. He popped out his first time up. 2-0 Royals. Kansas City bats in their 4th inning.
I will tell you that there was a night I was in the outfield here. It was so cold, and I couldn't figure out what was peppering my cap. I kept hearing tapping on my hat.
Yeah, fly ball left. Inciarte's got it.
It turned out it was between innings when the fountains would go off, and they'd turn them off when the inning would start. The water was freezing and crystallizing. It was like sleeting on my hat. The wind blowing it over on me.
Nice. runs. And they've got Gordon Beckham leading things off as we move to the 5th. Volquez has given up 2 hits. Atlanta had a golden opportunity last inning, but alas couldn't score their first run.
Yeah, big strikeout of Kelly. The runners at the corners and 1 out.
Gordon Beckham fouls that at the plate. He's our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot feature.
That's because his last 10 games, a .385 average. On base half the time he gets up there and driving in a ton of runs, including that big 3-run double yesterday.
And the way things are going offensively, if you hit, you're going to play.
Heck yeah.
Braves come in with a team batting average of .226. And a shot toward Cuthbert at third. He gloves and makes a perfect throw. There's out number 1. Haven't seen much of him, but what I've seen I like.
Well, you can understand why they're high on him. You and I were talking yesterday about the guy that's generally considered their best prospect, Raul Mondesi II, who was handed a 50-game suspension. Is that correct?
It was originally 80, right?
Yes. And they reduced it to 50 because the performance enhancing drug that they found in his system was actually a product that was in what I understand, an asthma medication that he was taking.
Like inhaler?
I think, but I can't be certain about that. Which I thought was, when you think about all these guys that have been suspended saying, well, I don't know how that got in my system. I just don't know what I took. Well, he investigated, found exactly how it got in his system. He was unaware that there was an illegal product in the asthma medication, and yet they still gave him 50 games. And I thought that was a little unfair. A lot unfair.
Little chopper again towards short. And Escobar got rid of it quickly and got Malix by a half step. Malix out twice on throws from Alcides Escobar. 2 out.
Good hustle by Malix out of the box, but Escobar quick and a good arm.
But you see what the speed of Malix Smith does to a defender on a play like that. Puts a lot of pressure on him to field it cleanly, throw it quickly and accurately in time to get Malix Smith. And a comebacker ricochets off Volquez. Infante with a bare hand throws to first, not in time. And let's see if Volquez is all right. That's an infield hit. Ibar aboard with 2 outs.
Hit his bare hand and then the glove. I believe it did. Nice play by Infante to make that close.
So that brings up Nick Markakis, club leader in RBIs with 21. Nick is the designated hitter for this game in Kansas City. And the Braves DHs in interleague play need to start doing some hitting. It has been a rough go for Atlanta in interleague play as this one's hit the other way. Short throw to second is going to end the inning. And Volquez is through 5 with a shutout. No runs, a hit, a man left. 9-1-2 up for Kansas City next. Okay, Andre, thank you very much. Addison Russell and Chris Bryant also homered in that game for the Cubs, who now have an 8-game lead over Pittsburgh already in the National League Central.
Pittsburgh's got to be reeling.
How about,
just after the Cubs came to Pittsburgh and swept them.
How about David Ross? 99 homers now. You know who he hit his first home run against, don't you?
Oh yeah, Mark Grace.
Yeah, Mark Grace. The Arizona Diamondbacks was on in a blowout game, wanted to pitch, and David Ross hit a home run while he was with the Dodgers.
Well, David's already announced this will be his last year, so feel pretty good about him getting to 100 before it's all over.
Yeah. Jason Hamill, by the way, started that game for the Cubs. He's 5-0. Paulo Orlando leads off for the Royals. He's got a 1-1 count. He was hit by a pitch his first time up. Again, what's plagued Julio and several of his pitching mates has been a little shaky defense and very little run support. Julio gets 2 runs a game on average. He's got nothing offensively behind him yet. And a swing and a miss. How about you? It feels like it's warming up as it gets later in Kansas City. The wind doesn't appear to be as brisk as it was at the start. It was gusting at 21 miles an hour.
It may be helping him with his grip too.
So Julio has a couple of strikeouts now, and he'll go back to the top. And Alcides Escobar, who's 2 for 2 with a run scored. With those hits, Escobar now has a 9-game hitting streak against the National League. And that's it the other way. Kelly to his left has it. And the throw to first in plenty of time. 2 out.
Correct something I said earlier about Lorenzo Cain working out in Atlanta. I was way off. I feel like Dumb and Dumber, you know, Samsonite. Boy, was I off. No, I read a story about him working out during the winter, and in my head I was thinking it was in the Atlanta paper about off-season conditioning and workouts. Not so. It was a story sent to me by some relatives on his workouts in Norman, Oklahoma, actually. And everybody was excited about the World Series champion working out in Norman at the University of Oklahoma. I stand corrected. It's fixed. And we go to the 6th inning.
Nicely done, Jose. Fans in attendance Saturday, May 28th will receive the giveaway of the year, a Chipper Rescues Freddy ATV bobblehead. You won't want to miss it. Go to Braves.com/tickets and get yours today. And look who's coming up for Atlanta as we move to the 6th inning. It's Ciarte, Freeman, and Flowers against Edinson Volquez. First pitch swing, chopped to short. Easy throw, 1 out. Volquez has been very economical. 61 pitches now.
A lot of first pitch swings. For a guy that wasn't throwing that many first pitch strikes the first 13 batters.
Well, he's up to 9 out of 20 first pitch strikes if you count a batted ball as a strike. So 1 pitch, 1 out for Freddie Freeman. He's the man that hit the fly ball to left, that wind-blown fly ball that Alex Gordon dropped. For Gordon, that snaps a streak of 189 games without an error. And now fly ball toward right. Orlando is underneath. He's got that. 2 outs.
Long balls have been a problem for Volquez too. He's given up 4 in these 3 games that he's gone 0-3. 2 in that game in Cleveland, his last start. But so far so good tonight.
Well, the Royals, maybe they just needed some home cooking. This is where they've done so much damage. The Royals have won 60 of their last 95 games at home since the start of last year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And they need that. If they're going to catch the White Sox in the Central, they've got to make up some ground on their home turf. They've lost 12 of their last 15 games away from home. They just came home from a 2-5 road trip.
And they haven't exactly been tearing it up offensively either. During the stretch where they've gone 4-12, 9 times in those 16 games they've scored 3 runs or less.
So they've got the Braves and the Red Sox coming in a brief 6-game homestand, and they go on the road head-to-head with the White Sox and the Twins. In fact, they'll play the White Sox 7 times starting May 20th. So the race in the Central could change very, very quickly if Kansas City gets hot again.
That ball went right over in the camera well where Paul Byrd was. I hope he was able to get out of the way. I mean, he's had so many balls hit back at him in his career that I'm sure he is. It's kind of a reflexology thing for him. Good thing he can't hear me.
Isn't that fun?
At least he got a jacket.
Swing at this. Full count. Paul Byrd had a great year here for the Royals. All won 17 games for a season with Kansas City. And he came to Atlanta. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Back up the middle, and that's through. A 2-out hit for Tyler Flowers, his 2nd hit of the game. And now again, Volquez has to face a man that has the hardest hit ball against him, Kelly Johnson. Kelly swung at the first pitch, doubled off the fence in right, and then took a called 3rd strike on a ball that looked like it was going right at his right hip before it danced back over the inside corner for strike 3. What a stop.
Oh, goodness. Talked about a lot of the defenders on this ball club, and he's a Gold Glover himself, Salvador Perez. Showing you some good hands there, and he has thrown out 10 of 20 base stealers.
Pop fly out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Of course, the gold standard in our league has been Yadier Molina for so many years. Well, The guy that plays 4 hours west on I-70 ain't too bad either.
No.
Out of play, back our way. It's 1-2. Phillies are winning again tonight. They lead the Reds 3-2. That game's in the 9th. Phillies took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta. Jeremy Hellickson was the man that started for the Fightins at Citizens Bank Park. He's played more road games than any team in the big leagues. So they're ready for some home cooking too. And a swing and a miss. Takes care of Kelly Johnson and Atlanta in the 6th inning. Volquez has only struck out 2, but he has been in complete command. He leads 2-0.
Presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day.
Hope you'll stay with us after our game for Braves Live. We'll recap all of tonight's action. We'll check in with skipper Freddie Gonzalez and get into the clubhouse and hear from the players. Braves Live after the game, presented by Xfinity. I'm guessing that wasn't here when you played here either.
I don't remember that, no.
Eric Hosmer leads off the Kansas City 6th. Royals got a gift run in the 1st inning, a single and a 2-base error, followed by a ground out, made it 1-0. A 1-out double, a 2-out hit batsman, and then an RBI hit from Alcides Escobar made it 2-zip, and that's where we stand. That was lashed out of play, foul, 1 ball, 1 strike.
As is typical with a team that wins a world championship, the fans begin to turn out and pour into stadiums. And again, this one only seats 37,900 people.
Really?
And they drew 2.7 million, which was a record.
Now that surprises me. You look at the big concrete structure that is this place, the big wide lower bowl, you'd think, or I would, this is at least 45,000 people that could get in here.
37.9, which is less than what it was originally. I think it was like 41 or 2 originally.
2 balls and a strike. I'm told that attendance mark you mentioned broke the 1989 attendance record for the Royals. And I liked your comparison that you made earlier. This place to me is the Dodger Stadium of the American League.
Yep. Always clean as a whistle. Always full of fans. And I say always. Back when they were losing 100 games a year, they weren't filling this place. but loyal and dedicated and knowledgeable fans here.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Kendrys Morales is on deck. Julio Teheran trying to keep the Royals right where they are, down 2-0 in the opening game of the series. And that's too far inside. A leadoff walk. He's walked Hosmer twice now. And trouble afoot for Braves right-hander. And here's Morales, 0 for 2 tonight. Here's an interesting stat that they have in their notes. Morales last year hit .284 against right-handed pitching. He's hitting .147 against him this year. And that doesn't include his 0 for 2 performance tonight. How does that happen?
I don't know. Somebody was writing or talking about a World Series hangover. You know, that can sometimes strike teams, and it's a bit natural for teams to show up after a World Championship season and think, we'll just have to throw our gloves out there, we'll do it again, and it's just not that easy.
One ball, no strikes. The Yankees were the last team to repeat as World Series champions. You think about the Giants winning it every other year. It is a very different proposition when you have the target on your back, when you are the hunted and not the hunter. That's not a swing. Ball 2. So, Paul, is that something that Ned Yost and his staff and his players are hearing a lot of? And if so, how are they handling that conversation?
Well, they are. I was in the office today when Ned was, I don't want to say getting attacked, but he was being asked very strongly by reporters why he hadn't held a meeting and yelled at the guys like he did years ago. His response was, these guys police themselves. They're hustling. They're playing hard. And the losing streak is sometimes just simply baseball.
You know, the coaches and the manager can do all they want to remind the players that you've still got to work hard. You've still got to put in your effort to be ready for each night. But there are some thoughts that can creep in that we'll get it turned around. We'll get it going here pretty quick. And the next thing you know, it's July and you're 8 games out and you're wondering what happened.
Well, and he feels if you jump all over the guys and start screaming and applying a lot of pressure and get uncomfortable, that all of a sudden guys no longer play loose. And he felt that a trademark of this team was that the team had fun, they played loose, and he didn't want to lose that. And he also said these guys have won a World Series. They've grown up.
Yeah.
And he said you arrive in a locker room when guys police themselves, they take care of business, they have leaders on that team, and he really liked the way things are going and just simply said, we're going through a little slump, and if guys were not playing hard, we're not going about their business in the right way, then I would have a meeting and address it. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's going to come in and turn tables over and break lamps or anything like that. Just a discussion, probably one that no one in the media would even know about. To talk to players privately. But they have been saddled with a bunch of injuries. We had the list up there earlier of key players, and what you mentioned, Chip, a lot of guys that are gone from this team. Ben Zobrist is a big guy that's out of their lineup.
How'd they like to have him the way Zobrist is swinging the bat in this lineup?
Johnny Cueto became a free agent. He's in San Francisco now.
So even though they are the defending champions and the core of their team is very much intact, it's still a different team.
Right.
And they'll have a chance to really help their cause, as we said, with 7 games with the White Sox head-to-head before this month is over. Back-to-back walks for Teheran to start the 6th, and that missed inside to Alex Gordon. Critical stage in the game. Doors open for Kansas City, trying to add to a 2-run lead.
Julio's last 3 games, just 6 total walks to 22 strikeouts. Tonight, 3 walks. And he's only fanned 2.
Alexi Ogando is the first man up in the Braves bullpen. Fouled away off Flowers. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Gordon's been an all-star 3 straight years. Missed a lot of time last year. Missed 48 games with a left groin strain. Gordon had 13 hits in postseason play for Kansas City. 4 doubles, a couple of homers. And took that one inside. It's a full count. All of a sudden, Julio's command has escaped him. 2 straight walks and now a full count to Gordon. Sets up. He makes the catch. Tagging at second, heading to third will be Hosmer. And they're at the corners with 1 out. Gordon advances a runner. And Salvi Perez, the catcher, is coming up. Julio, though, a ground ball away from getting out of the inning.
As we saw in the World Series, Eric Hosmer, a very good base runner, an aggressive base runner. Runs real well for a big man. Able to go from second to third there.
Perez has hit into 4 double plays this year. He's popped out and grounded out. Strike over the inside corner. Perez was the World Series MVP, the 7th catcher to earn that honor, and the first since Pat Borders in 1992. And the second man from Venezuela to earn the honor, joining Pablo Sandoval, who did it with the Giants.
When you're talking about Julio needing a ground ball to get out of the inning, coming into tonight, his ground ball and fly ball ratio is almost the same. And those fly ball outs tied for 4th most in the National League. So it's not like he's a sinker ball guy that gets a lot of grounders. Needs one here.
A strikeout wouldn't hurt either. He's ahead 0-2. And he got the strikeout. So Perez can't put it in play. There's a big second out. And Cuthbert's coming up. Men at the corners, 2 outs now.
92 fastball, still got something left. '92 pitches as well.
So Chesler Cuthbert, 6'1", 210, 23 years old. He lives in Corn Island, Nicaragua. And that just missed. 1 ball, no strikes.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, I would not have either. Non-drafted free agent in 2009. Big swing, didn't get it. Whether it's AAA or the big leagues, Cuthbert's been a pretty good run producer. He's knocked in 31 runs in his last 30 games, including his work at Omaha.
Yeah, he was tearing it up in Omaha. 333 average, 7 homers.
That's upstairs, 2 balls and a strike. This is not his first time in the big leagues. Cuthbert played in 19 games for the Royals last year. Hit a homer and drove in 8 runs. Another good fastball from Tehran evens the count.
2 good pitches. One upstairs that he was able to lay off, and then that one, fastball right on the outside corner.
Let's see what Flowers comes up with.
I'll try it again.
And he got his man. Wow. Julio Tehran works around a couple of leadoff walks. Went to 3-2 on Gordon, got a fly out, and then struck out the next 2 Royals hitters. The game is still 2-0 Kansas City, and we head to the 7th. Jeff Francoeur leads off for the Braves. What a job by Julio Tehran to work around those back-to-back walks to start the 6th inning. 2 of his best sequences against Perez and Cuthbert has kept it 2-0.
And he did it with fastballs primarily.
Took him 25 pitches to get out of the inning. But here we are in the 7th with Francoeur, Beckham, and Smith coming up. And a good start. Jeff tomahawks a base hit to left field.
Wind's really picked up again, Chip. It's blowing straight out toward right and hard. Good start to the inning. First leadoff man to reach tonight.
Braves have actually out hit Kansas City 5-4, but have yet to score a run. We've seen that a few too many times this season. See if the Braves can move Francoeur around. Gordon Beckham, 2 ground outs to Cuthbert at third base tonight. And he takes a strike.
Good take on a changeup.
Now Kansas City's bullpen begins to work. Little pop behind first. That might be trouble. It is trouble. It drops in safely, and Francoeur will stop at second. Orlando had a long way to go, couldn't get there, and the Braves have back-to-back hits to start the seventh.
Well, one thing about this Kansas City bullpen is how good they are. You hate going into the latter stages of a game trailing because they're pretty much a shutdown group. Dave Island, the pitching coach, will come out and talk to Volquez as Beckham dumps one in there perfectly.
And you are right about the Royals bullpen. Their relief corps, a .283 earned run average. Kochevar beginning to loosen.
Another high draft pick.
So the Braves in business. Let's see what Malik Smith has in mind. He just chatted with Bo Porter.
Royals are expecting a bunt. Corners are in. Ideally, he'd like to push this bunt to third if he's going to bunt.
He laid it down right in front of the mound. It was an excellent bunt, and a close play at first is in time. So the sacrifice successful. Key man in the inning, now Ibar.
Nicely done. Softened it beautifully. Braves had first and third. One out in the fourth. Couldn't score. That's looming big right now.
Again, Ibar, a .380 lifetime hitter in this park. He has an infield hit tonight.
Royals will concede a run for an out since they have a 2-run lead. The only guy that's in is Cuthbert.
To center. Kane is drifting back. He makes the catch. And it will be a sac fly and an RBI for Ibar, and the Braves are on the board. It's a 2-1 game. ABC baseball for the Braves. That's nice to see. Ibar has his 4th RBI.
Again, with their bullpen, the Royals are fine with that because they still have the lead. Things could change drastically here, though, if Nick Markakis can pick up an extra run and tie this up with 2 out.
Nick Markakis, the Braves DH tonight, is hitless.
And leading RBI guy on the team.
This would be a great spot for that first home run. As you said, the wind blowing toward right. And home runs for the Braves DH in interleague play have been few and far between. They have 1 homer in the last 3 years out of the DH spot in interleague play. One ball, 1 strike.
A couple of change-ups back to back inside. One that missed in, one that caught the corner.
Ground ball right side. Infante, though, scoops it up, and the throw to first will retire the side. A run on 2 hits. We stretch at Kauffman Stadium. 1-run game now.
2-1 Royals, bottom of the 7th. If you haven't been to Kansas City, you got to come here. Absolutely incredible place. Was able to visit the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum earlier today, where you see the main field right there, the chicken wires, where I was segregated, not allowed on the field. Very unusual, unique feeling. You go around, you take the tour, you learn about the players, then you are allowed on the field. I got to tell you this, Chip and Joe, my favorite section, we got a little Satchel Paige, a little Hank Aaron. Satchel Paige clocked at 105 miles an hour, pitched in Major League Baseball. They think in his 60s. We're still not sure where he was born, so that's something to shoot for, Bartolo. And then how about Hank Aaron, who when he was 16 years old, took off for the Indianapolis Clowns. He had $1.50 in his pocket, a change of clothes, and his mom packed him a ham sandwich. All great stuff.
What a way to start a career, huh, Paul?
Yeah, I think I've been babying my kids too much. They're 18 and 19. And after the visit to the Negro Leagues Museum, I'm going to, pull some privileges.
Yeah, maybe back off on those exquisite healthy dinners, just ham sandwiches from now on.
That's right. And then Hank Aaron also nicknamed, which I didn't know, pork chops, because when he first started out, he would only eat pork chops with fries. Now, later on in his career, we know that he ate healthy, but that is not the way it started out. But hey, when you're 16 years old, you can eat whatever you want, right?
Didn't Hank Aaron also, when he first started playing professionally, have the, what's it called, the cross-handed grip?
He hit cross-handed, yeah.
Yes.
So his right hand was on the bottom, not the top.
You know, the vice president of the museum today told me that a lot of, and I mean this respectfully, a lot of country baseball players, Hank Aaron being from the country out in Mobile, hit like that no one taught them the right way, and it actually may have helped his swing because his top hand, the opposite hand, when they switched it, now he had incredible wrists. And as some people said, even Warren Spahn at one time said that his wrists and hands were so good that it actually looked like Hank Aaron hit the ball out of the catcher's mitt.
There's a shot by Infante towards center, but Malix is there for the first out.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things here in Kansas City. Paul, you're right. A lot of wonderful museums, a great Union train station, a lot of history here, and might even find a barbecue joint somewhere along the way too. Stroud's Chicken.
Paulo Orlando is the hitter. He's been hit by a pitch and struck out. I'll tell you what, if you go to Stroud's Chicken, be prepared for the food coma. We did that the last time we were here.
It's one of the few places where you get gravy family style. They bring in a keg.
Yeah. Well, how about Julio Teheran tonight? He is pitching another excellent ball game with no run support, and hate to say it, the gift the Braves gave the Royals in the first is the difference in the game right now.
It is indeed. A misplay in right field. If you just joined us, Jeff Francoeur let the ball bounce past him and turn into a single and a two-base error, and a sacrifice fly brought Escobar in, an unearned run.
Julio gave up a run in the second inning. He's had a few base runners, but he's allowed only one hit in this game to the Royals since the start of the third inning. He too has been very much in command, and whatever issues he might have had with his control with the wind early, those issues appear to be by the boards.
Yeah, that or he's figured out something with his grip that's helped.
He's about to make pitch number 106. A 2-1 game in favor of Kansas City. Strike three, and Orlando knew it. Teheran with 5 strikeouts.
And 3 in a row. Excuse me, 3 of the last 4, and that was 92.
And here is Escobar. He led off the game, and the error came right out of the chute for the Braves.
Just a simple single to right. Jeff came in, thought he was going to be able to maybe make a play and catch the ball, and then had it squirt past him. Alex Smith backed it up.
Lorenzo Cain followed with a ground ball to short. That was our Toyota key play of the game. As Julio throws a butterfly into Escobar, and he took it for a strike.
And Escobar had an inside the park home run in the World Series.
To third, and a nice pick by Beckham, and Julio Teheran admired that play. 3 up, 3 down. He's retired 6 straight. He's allowed 1 hit since the start of the third. Now he needs a run to get this thing tied. Score Chip Carey with a couple of Royals alumni here in Kansas City. Paul Bird, 2001 and 2002 here in Kansas City. Look at that bottom line, Joe. A 17-game winner and 7 complete games.
Workhorse. Absolute workhorse. 7 complete games that lead. Have the league lead for 2 years running. Just split them up.
Paul, did you enjoy pitching here with the Royals?
Guys, you ambushed me. What's going on here? Yeah, I loved pitching with the Royals. Had a cheering section, the Bird's Nest. They wore beaks and feathers. Loved the fans here in Kansas City. They were fantastic to me. And no offense to the Philadelphia fans, but coming from Philadelphia where it was a little tough, my first start here, I came out of the game losing to Randy Johnson 3-1 in the 7th. They gave me a standing ovation, and I thought they were mocking me. But no, they were that nice. Players made me come back out and tip my cap. Wonderful, wonderful welcome here in Kansas City, and just love everything about the area.
And Paul, those 2 years with the Royals were probably career-changing for you because you then came to Atlanta, right?
They were. I was coming back from shoulder surgery and then had 2 good years and kind of reestablished myself and got my feet under me again, and great teammates here. And then, yes, I was able to come back home to the Braves and had a little hiccup there with an elbow, but it turned out okay in the end. I was able to help us out, get back to the playoffs.
Well, welcome back to Kansas City. Nice play by Hosmer at first as Kelvin Herrera is in to pitch. Inciarte is retired to start the Atlanta 8th. It's not just the pitchers that can have trouble with a grip on a breezy, chilly night.
Well, Hosmer has bailed him out a couple of times already tonight when ball's in the dirt. Here's Herrera's numbers. 17 games, an awesome ERA of 1.10, 2 walks to 20 strikeouts. That's pretty good in most books in 16 1/3 innings.
And as you said, no secret to how Kansas City wins games. Get a lead after 6 or 7, turn it over to their relief corps, and you have real big problems. Their relief staff 4-2, a 283 earned run average.
Well, this guy throws hard. He's 97, 98, and they got Wade Davis to close games, who had last year had an ERA under 1.
Herrera no slouch himself. He was an all-star last year and has a 12 straight scoreless home appearance streak on the line here in Game 1 tonight. High fly ball hit well by Freeman to left, but the wind's going to knock it down.
That ball was smoked, folks.
Gordon makes the play. If he hits that to right, that's off the Budweiser side.
That was a 97 fastball, and Freddie hit it right on the button, but the wrong direction. Fastball had a lot of the plate.
Herrera knew it was smoked too, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't want to look. Wind saved him tonight.
So he's got the first 2 outs, and now Tyler Flowers is up. Tyler has a couple of singles in 3 tries. And that missed badly, ball 1. '97. This guy's been a rubber-armed reliever. 70 or more appearances out of the bullpen in 3 of the last 4 years.
Getting a good feel for why right-handers are hitting so poorly against him. Ball moves too. That one had a little hop on it.
Swing and a miss. Herrera works a 1-2-3-8 with a little help from Mother Nature. Freddie Freeman hit it right on the button. Julio Teheran down a run. To Atlanta 1. Tough break for Julio Teheran tonight, Joe. As we look at your baseball card, your 1983 season with the Royals. Check you out.
It was not a good year offensively. Let's just put it that way. Unfortunately, didn't get a whole lot of hits that year. Didn't do much for Kansas City, to be honest with you, except have a brilliant ERA.
I'll just say, when you have a 3 or sub-3 ERA with the designated hitter, you are dealing.
Yeah, I was playing all over the place, that's for sure.
Hunter Cervenka is going to take over for Julio, and he has been just about perfect for the Atlanta Ball Club, especially against right-handed batters. Done nothing against Hunter Cervenka. It was a strike. What was it like playing with George Brett? I know we're late in the game. You could probably talk for hours about Hall of Fame third baseman here in KC.
I had the privilege of, in my career, playing with some great players. I played with some really good players in Los Angeles when I broke in. Played with some pretty good ones in Seattle too, by the way. But George was the best player I ever played with.
Ground ball, base hit. Lorenzo Cain's aboard to start the Royals' 8th. And he's thinking about 2. Ball bobbled in the outfield, and he'll make it.
What was Inciarte doing?
That's 2 mistakes in the Atlanta outfield in this game. And we've said it hundreds of times already. If the Braves don't catch the ball, they're going to have problems.
Well, he looked up because Cain made a big turn. And I'm sure when he made that big turn, Malik Smith probably said something, and he looked up too soon before he had the ball in his glove. That should be an error, and it is.
So an error in right, an error in left, and a runner in scoring position versus Cervenka. One ball, no strikes.
Other than inherited runners, it's not often that Hunter has to pitch with runners on base.
Well, 15 straight scoreless outings since he made his major league debut. This would be an awful way for that to end. As that ball's in the dirt, knocked down by Flowers. That's the first hit by an opposing hitter in a 31 batter stretch. The last Braves pitcher with a longer opponent's hitless streak was Johnny Venters, who held the opposition to an 0 for 37 stretch in 2011. A nice stop, but it's 3-0 to the left-hand hitting Eric Hosmer. Chris Morales will be the next hitter.
See if Ned Yost gives Hosmer a green light here.
Ibar trying to keep Cain close. He's going to try to take third, and he will. Stolen base and ball 4. Well, you called it. The Royals like to run. They just stole their 25th base. And Kansas City has men first and third with nobody out, and a fly ball could give him an insurance run.
A huge insurance run. And he didn't even have a very big lead, so as not to draw attention to himself, but as soon as Cervenka turned his head, he took off. Love the way Lorenzo Cain plays the game. That big wide turn caught everybody by surprise in the Atlanta outfield and caused a mistake out there that allowed him to get into second.
So Morales 0 for 2 with a walk. He'll turn around and hit right-handed. And that's ball 1. Mentioned his trouble against right-handed pitching this year. He's been wearing out the lefties. A .323 hitter from the right side of the plate is Kendrys Morales.
Wasn't it Morales that tore his ACL jumping on home plate with the Angels?
It was, yep.
Celebrating a walk-off homer. He jumped in the air, landed on home plate, and tore his knee up.
That cost him the entire 2011 season for the Angels.
Good backdoor pitch there.
He came back with a 22-homer season in 2012, then went to the Mariners, then to Minnesota, and then last year in Kansas City. Picked a good year to come to Kansas City, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
In the air to center. That'll get down in front of Malik Smith. A run is in. Hunter Cervenka's given up his first run, and the Royals lead 3-1.
But the defensive mistake changed the whole dynamic of the inning. You'd have a runner at first leading off the inning, okay, but a lefty on lefty matchup. Granted, it was Eric Hosmer, but Cervenka's been so good against lefties. You know, who knows what might have happened or how it might have changed the inning.
And that's got to be a huge concern for this ball club, Joe. This is 29 errors now. This is game number 34. Here's Alex Gordon, 2 on, nobody out, 3-1 game. I don't think there's a team alive that can survive a season where you give up a pace of 120 or 130 errors.
No. Well, where you give up so many unearned runs, it just puts too much pressure on your pitchers to constantly have to try to cover them up.
Fly ball again towards center. Malik Smith is going to catch this. The runners are going to try to tag, or one is, and he will make it throw off target. Hosmer takes third on a deep fly ball by Gordon. And there's the first out. Yeah, to put that in perspective, 2 unearned runs so far tonight. That gives the Braves 15 of them allowed this year. And that looks like it's the end of the line for Hunter Cervenka. So 2 singles, a walk, a costly error, and a flyout. As Hunter Cervenka gives up his first run with the Braves this year, the Royals extend their lead. Sean Farnham here in Kansas City. A look at Kauffman Stadium, all lit up and pretty as a pea. Spend your Memorial Day weekend at Turner Field when the Braves take on the Marlins and the Giants Friday, May 27th through Monday, May 30th. Don't miss the Chipper and Freddie ATV bobblehead on the 28th and Chris Stapleton's postgame concert on the 29th. Go to Braves.com/tickets today. Royals 3, Braves 1. Alexi Ogando, the second pitcher of the inning. He'll try to clean up a first and third 1-out mess.
First game for him in 5 days. Last pitched against Arizona.
Gerard Dyson has come on to pinch run for Morales at first base.
And he's a flyer.
And Ogando with a quick strike. Phillies beat the Reds 3-2. That's a final at Citizens Bank Park. Cubs beat the Pirates 9-4, as Andre Aldridge told us earlier tonight. Andre will be standing by with Braves Live, presented by Xfinity, after we wrap things up here at Game 1 in Kansas City. White Sox beat the Yankees today. Chris Sale, 8-0 for the White Sox.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Nats beat Miami 5-3. That game at Nationals Park.
Dyson might have been going. I mentioned he was hurt, and he was. He missed the first 12 games of the season after injuring himself in spring training with a right oblique strain, and then after being activated, he's been 4 for 35 at the plate.
He is going. Great jump. And Flowers doesn't even offer a throw. I mean, he's still second standing up.
Braves were conceding that they had no one covering. Was that explosive out of the blocks?
The infield comes in now for Salvador Perez. Julio Teheran struck him out last time up in a run-scoring situation. They had him first and third.
And got him with fastballs. Now they don't have to throw him a strike. Not only are they ahead in the count, but they've got a base open. See if he'll expand his zone.
That's pushed into the seats. Foul. It's still a ball and 2 strikes.
See the location of this pitch. See Flowers way out off the plate, but that pitch had some of the plate, and it was actually too good.
Line base hit. Here comes Dyson around third. Smith's throw is going to hit the mound. A big hit by Salvador Perez breaks the game open.
A clutch performer, to be sure. Had a good postseason, and again a pitch that he was looking for. He's just flat out looking middle away and covered this, what I think was a slider that was off the plate. He didn't just cover it, he hit it hard.
So a 3 spot in the 8th for Kansas City. That makes it a 5-1 game. And Chesler Cuthbert's another at bat.
Take a look again when he's draped over the plate and looking for something away. Look at Tyler Flowers. Tyler Flowers ready to block the ball in the dirt. And Perez, anything between the batter's boxes, he was on it.
One ball, 1 strike. So Perez up to 20 RBIs. Morales has an RBI hit in the inning. Kane and Escobar the other RBIs for the Royals. Three balls, 1 strike. A lot of pacing and pawing around. Very long inning as it's gotten colder and windy.
It's cold, yeah. The wind chill now is somewhere down in the high 40s. That wind has picked up 18 to 20 miles an hour again. See people with their hoods up on their coat there behind home plate.
count. 91 miles an hour from Ogando. And Cuthbert didn't get it.
From behind right field. A giant scoreboard in center. Always one of the landmarks here.
Joakim Soria is getting ready in the Kansas City bullpen. Nice crowd tonight, 33,132. On a chilly night, Royals back home. And that just missed. Ogando looks in at the home plate umpire Greg Gibson. Didn't get the call. Cuthbert to first with a one-out walk. First and second now for Omar Infante.
Nobody throwing the Atlanta bullpen, nor really should there be, because they've already put 3 on the board for a 5-1 lead. You don't want to use up another guy in the bullpen tonight. Hoping Ogando can get a couple of outs and get out of this.
And with the extra inning game last night, the Braves had to use a lot of relievers too. As you said, Ogando may be the most rested of all of them. See if he can finish it off here. Popped up, Wins pushing that toward the stands. No play for Freddie Freeman. Strike one for Omar Infante.
Third year of a 4-year deal Infante got from the Royals. As I said, he's played well in his time here, but he's got some guys pushing him now from their minor league system.
Perez is at second, Cuthbert at first. And now the 2-1 pitch from Alexi Ogando. Right there for an even count. In the Braves ninth, Kelly Johnson, Jeff Francoeur, and Gordon Beckham, the first 3 scheduled. Lead too big for Wade Davis to try to save it, so Atlanta will take aim at Joakim Soria, it would appear. Royals have a 5-1 lead.
Alexi's not pitching inside at all. Everything's away, even to the right-handed hitters. It cost him against Perez, although that ball was off the plate outside, but still everything's away.
Hit towards second. Ibar at second for one. The throw to first is in time. And that completes. Was that a double play? They call him safe at second. Hang on.
I thought that was a clear cut out.
The Royals might be saying he didn't have possession of the bag. Freddie Gonzalez is coming out to say, what's the story? Yeah, they're saying he was off the bag.
Well, the base runner obstructed our view of his foot there. Like he stepped right in the middle of it.
from that angle, you could say that maybe the bottom of his spikes grazed the side of the bag. And now the umpires are going to get together and talk it over. It looked like a routine 4-6-3 double play, but the runner at second base, Cuthbert, never moved. The umpires are saying that the feed from Kelly Johnson pulled Ibar off the bag. Let's see if it did from this angle.
Well, I can understand Mike Estabrooks thought that his foot went right over the top of the base, but it easily could have grazed it with his spikes too. Greg Gibson is the crew chief. Not sure why they're coming over to the Royals side, unless they're wondering about the play at first. Another angle for Eric's catch. I mean, from that angle, it looks like his foot, his toe was coming across the bag. And now then, are we going to have a review at first? He's out.
He's out at first. But again, the emphasis this year is the umpires are enforcing contact with the bag. The old neighborhood play is no longer allowed. And so I don't believe the Royals challenged this call. Mike Estabrooks, the second base umpire, and he immediately signaled safe at second that Ibar apparently missed the bag as he came across and completed the relay throw to first base.
If he's calling the neighborhood play here, I don't know if that's reviewable, and maybe that's what Freddie's asking.
So now they're going to review this play at second base, but again, the original call was safe. And as we have seen so many times,
right there, it looked like he dragged his foot across the base.
And the problem here again is the bailout that replay allows New York and the umpires is there has to be enough sufficient evidence to change the call on the field of play, which was safe anyway. So here we are in a 5-1 game. We're splitting hairs over whether the bottom of his cleat scraped the top of the bag on what looked like a routine double play ball.
Well, every replay we've watched, there's no conclusive evidence that shows that he touched the base, and I'm going to guess that in New York they're going to agree with the umpire.
So if this call stands, Infante is going to be out at first on a 4-6-3 relay to first. Perez will be at third base. Cuthbert will be at second. And now Algondo will get a few extra warm-up tosses. I understand the spirit of the rule. I understand the intent of the rule. But the game has survived for 100 years with the neighborhood play just fine. And in no way was Ibar trying to deke anybody. He was doing what his body has told him. And the Braves are apparently challenging the call at second base. And the call will stand. And I'm sure what we'll hear is there wasn't enough evidence to change the call. I can see if a man is 4 or 5 feet away from the bag when he handles the ball and makes the relay throw. But there wasn't an eye in the ballpark who thought that Ibar missed the bag, other than Mike Estabrook.
Right.
But his is the opinion that counts, so the inning continues. And Paulo Orlando will be the 8th man to hit in the inning. He's been hit by a pitch once, and he has struck out twice. Strike one. 5 runs on 7 hits for the Royals. A run on 6 hits for the Braves. 2 costly errors have gifted the Royals 2 runs tonight. And Ogando quickly ahead. 0-2. Oh, Orlando might have thought he just struck out. Pretty close pitch. Good take. 1-2 now.
And no, we can't review that one.
No. That's coming next year, I think. Apparently there was a memo that was sent out as that one strike 3. I think that makes up for the one that was a better pitch before. We'll talk about that memo on those plays at second base when we come back. Last call for Atlanta. We head to the 9th. Today, for the first time to the general public, SunTrust Park season tickets are on sale. They start at as little as $7 a game for A-list members. Act quickly to get the best seats before they're gone. Go to Braves.com/SunTrust Park and get your tickets today. In between innings, Freddie Gonzalez was talking with Greg Gibson about that play at second base. As I was mentioning before we went to break, there was a memo apparently distributed to the major league managers that umpires were going to be given a little bit more broad discretion as to that play at second base, more so with regards to the slide and whether or not a player was able to complete a throw or even attempted to throw a ball to first base on what has been enforced as a double play when no throw was made, like the Bautista play where he grabbed the foot. I'm guessing Freddie Gonzalez is asking about the discretion on that play, because as we saw from the replay, nobody in the ballpark thought he was trying to miss the bag, and maybe his spikes grazed it, but not enough evidence to change the call. Stands no harm, no foul, as Joakim Soria comes on to pitch inning number 9 for Kansas City.
I would just say that to the letter of the law, Mike Estabrook may have been right. We can't tell.
Right.
But I'm not sure that in any other game across baseball right now that would have been called. I think because it wasn't so obvious that he came off the bag way out away from the runner. He came right across the top of the bag. That's surprising.
Yeah, the term I used when I was doing NBA games was it's the pro call.
Yeah.
But Mike Estabrook's doing his job. That's what baseball wants. That's what baseball got. Didn't hurt the Braves. Just forced a few extra pitches. As a man that was nicknamed the Mexicutioner, Joakim Soria comes on for the 9th, and he greets Kelly Johnson with a strikeout.
Second tour of duty for him with the Royals. He started with Kansas City and had some outstanding seasons as their closer. Back-to-back years of 17, 42, 30, 43, 28 saves before he went to Texas. Had Tommy John surgery, and it's taken him a few years to kind of get back on track, both with Texas and then later with Detroit. He spent last year and a half with Detroit and Pittsburgh.
First major league pitcher born in Mexico with 200 saves. And he's out of Monclova, Mexico. Soria, 31. He'll be 32 in 5 days. And he hung that one inside. Francoeur bounced it foul. Braves Live, presented by Xfinity, is coming up. Hopefully after a 9th inning comeback by the Braves. Andre Aldridge is standing by in our Atlanta studios. Francoeur is hitting a run scored. One ball, 2 strikes. That's fouled off the mask of Perez. It's still 2-2. Francoeur trying for his 6th multi-hit game over his last 12 starts. Jeff's hitting .250 for the year. He's knocked in 7 men. And fought that off. That's headed for the seats to our right. A fan from Leawood, Kansas will make the play.
He's having good at bats. Better against left-handers, as we know, but he's had good at bats against right-handers too.
Soria got him to swing and miss. Back-to-back strikeouts. And Gordon Beckham is the final hope. Braves are home over Memorial Day weekend. The Marlins and Giants are coming to town. We'll have the Chipper Freddie ATV bobblehead day, and Chris Stapleton performs after the game on the 29th. 33,000 on their feet in Kansas City. They're trying to welcome the Royals home with a win. They're up 5-1. 2 outs, 9th inning. Strike 1. Right back up the middle, and Beckham with a cue shot has a 2-out hit. And a 2-hit game for Gordon Beckham, whose good work at the plate continues.
Yeah, he'll take both of them too. The other one a flare to right, but he'll take them both.
Alex Smith laid down a bunt that led to a Braves run back in the 7th. In fact, that was the only Braves run in the 7th. He's 0 for 2 with 2 ground balls to the shortstop tonight. Strike 1 from Soria. Julio Teheran, 1 earned run in 7 innings tonight. He
pitched great.
It's now 8 consecutive starts for Julio Teheran without a win. That's the longest stretch of his career. When you think about how well he pitched last September with no luck, it's got to be wearing on him.
Yeah, he'll be the best 0-4 pitcher in the National League. No balls, 2 strikes. Alex laid off.
Since Volquez started for the Royals, he gave up a run in his 7 innings. Herrera and Soria have followed. There's your ball game. Soria strikes out the side with a Beckham single sandwiched in between. And Kansas City has returned home with a 5-1 win in 2 hours and 45 minutes. The Braves fall to 8-26 on the year. The Royals are in their 17th victory. And Julio Teheran, as Joe said, a tough luck loss, now 0-4. That's your final. We'll recap it from Kaufman right after this.